So these retroactive effects are very interesting. Now I'm going to give you an experiment by a guy called Dean Radin. You get some people, and this is called a double-blind experiment, where basically no one actually knows, no one's running the experiment. All the variables in the experiment are chosen by computers. Now let's say I'm sitting here and I'm being measured by an EEG monitor. My body's being measured. So if I get a fright, it'll pick it up. If I feel really good, it'll pick it up, okay? And there's a computer with a random number generator. And the computer's going to choose a picture, like a beautiful scene, like some hills, or it's going to, random number generator could choose something really erotic, or like a battle, like something that's going to give me a response, right? So let's say I see a picture of a battle and I'm like, whoa. Maybe I'm not actually like, whoa, but my body on some level will register a response. I might see a puppy and I'll be like, oh, that's sweet. I'll register a response. So these responses are easy to pick up. Now, random number generator. No one knows what the picture's going to be. The computer doesn't know. It's a random number generator. That's why it's called double blind. I don't know, and the people running the experiment don't know. Now, before I see the image, around 6 seconds before, if I'm going to see a negative image, my body will register a negative response before the image comes up. So I'm there, the image hasn't been chosen yet, but my body's already registering a negative response before the image shows up. So the negative event I'm about to experience is traveling back in time to give me a response before it even happens. So this is an example of how you can use people to show these retroactive realities, where information is traveling forwards and backwards in time. And if I'm going to see a really beautiful image, before the computer's chosen it, I'll have that response too, and then the beautiful image will appear. So this gets right into the depth of our intuition and our dreaming and all this sort of thing. These are normal human faculties to see and feel things before they happen. This is really normal stuff. However, we're schooled and taught to believe that this is supernatural, strange, or that people who have these sorts of premonitions should be medicated. So this is all normal stuff. When you think about someone before they appear, you know, this could be an entanglement sort of thing where especially if it's your partner, or before they call. These sorts of communications non-locally, again, non-local means that time and space don't exist. It means this information is traveling through time and through space. So this is all normal stuff, and we're actually all experiencing it all the time, but often we discount it. But when we choose to become sensitive and alter our bodies in such a way by becoming more clear and more healthy and more aware, and also communicating with our body that you want to have these experiences, you're going to have these experiences more and more. And it's just going to get more and more strong, and you're going to become more and more aware that we're all super psychic masters of our world. It's really, really cool. And I don't feel completely content with the fact that these experiments are so scientific for us to get to realities that a lot of ancient cultures in our planet are completely aware of. And they don't have to prove it to anyone. They're like, yeah, this is just part of being human. We've got all these cool abilities. We're magical. However, these scientific experiments, and a lot of this is mainstream physics. These are people a lot of people who discovered these sorts of things didn't believe in the spiritual ramifications of this research. So a lot of the time, a lot of this research, people were very much ridiculed and discounted by the kind of the consciousness of the mainstream around them. A lot of these advances in spiritual science, where this sort of physics meets spirituality, is progressing one dead scientist at a time. Okay, in the sense that people become so attached to what they think is real and not real that they don't allow this sort of information to kind of reach a free flow in the mainstream. It's happening more and more, and it's going to get really, really amazing over the next couple of decades, where a lot of this will become mainstream knowledge that we're all really, totally magical. Again, all of these sorts of revelations you can have on your own sitting in a forest. Okay? Like you can just realize all this sort of thing. Or if you spend time in a sort of culture where this is all kind of mainstream knowledge, this sort of transmission from that culture is just going to come to you, and you're going to start to realize that we're a bit more interesting than we're taught to believe. Does that make sense? We're good? Alright. So the next experiment I'm going to show you is Something I've only come across this week, and it's really made a big change for me. Now, this experiment is only 20 years old, and again these experiments have been repeated and verified. This is a cluster of beryllium ions, little particles. When they get a special radio frequency machine and shine a beam of radio frequencies at this beryllium ions, it's going to change its energetic state to a higher level in about half a second. Cool, that's pretty cool. You know, it's going to make it vibrate differently. Now, if you get a laser that's essentially like a way of taking a photo, you're going to be watching these beryllium ions every 4 milliseconds. You're just going to watch them. Now, in between each viewing, the radio frequency is going to lift the beryllium ions to a higher frequency state. Again, it takes half a second for them to reach the next state where they're going to be, where they'll stop. Every time it gets viewed, and this is because of the fact that someone's going to be looking at the data. Even if it's in the future, it doesn't matter. The conscious observer of the data doesn't matter because consciousness is non-local. Even if you're looking at the data in the future on a graph, it's going to affect the experiment. Alright? So each time you look at the beryllium ions, they'll get punched back down to their original state of energy just by looking at them. Alright? So if you got this theory and you were like sitting inside a nuclear weapon and you were taking a measurement of the energy in the uranium in the warhead every 4 milliseconds, it could never detonate. Because each time you observe it, it punches it back down to a lower energy state. That's a pretty weird analogy. No one's tried it yet. You know, wait and see. So each time we observe these particles, we push them back down to a lower energy state. What has that got to do with us? Let's say you have a bad experience when you're 10 years old. Let's say you get attacked by a dog and it messes you up psychologically. Every day when you walk to school, if you think about that dog attacking you, for one, our body and our consciousness and our nervous system doesn't understand the difference between visualizing a trauma and the actual trauma taking place. So your body and your nervous system, as we talked about in the first workshop, your nervous system is going to be going through a compounding and repeating effect, damaging the body and putting you in a higher sense of fight or flight. Your sympathetic nervous system will be at a higher baseline activation, which means that you'll be under stress all the time thinking about dogs biting you. 10 years later, you might still be thinking about that event. Each time you think about that event, it is going to be making you, just like the beryllium ions, when you send your conscious observation back in time to an event, you keep that event in a solid state of reality. Your past exists in an indeterminate state of waves of possibilities, just like everything happening in that bathroom right now. Your entire past is a wave of possibilities, probability waves. So the dog event, biting you when you're 10, is a wave of possibilities. However, when you view it in your mind, in your consciousness, in a superconscious state or in a dreamtime state, alpha state, whatever you want to call it, you make that event real for you each time you observe it. A friend of mine from Mexico, he keeps saying, stop talking about it. I've been thinking about that. Whereas so much of our identity and our story around who we are is based on our traumas. When we talk to people, we like attention. But when we talk to people as well, we might talk about the dog thing. We might talk about an illness, we might talk about an allergy, we might talk about abusive parents, abusive ex-partners, you know, all these sorts of things, traumatic events. And we're constantly casting our awareness back in time to these events, which makes them constantly real and physical in our reality, in our timeline. So when you cast your consciousness into your timeline, it makes the wave of possibilities collapse into your perceived negative timeline that you think you had. When you're in the present, and you're really in the present, and you're not attached to your timeline at all, if you've let it go, your timeline can go back into a wave of possibilities. Or you can just change your timeline. And we can talk about this a bit more in the next workshop on how to do this. Things in your timeline that are negative can be replaced with positive events. And since this, we can retroactively change things. I'm not saying we can make it like the Holocaust didn't happen, or that dog didn't bite and you've still got a scar. But we can actually change your body's healing in a sense. Say you've got a scar from that dog biting you, but then you fully emotionally let the event go, whether it be through regression or hypnosis or through your own spiritual practice or meditation. That scar might totally heal or heal properly once you let it go. And this is a very interesting thing. So let's say we haven't made it say let's say the Holocaust still happened, but your emotional and spiritual response and that trauma can completely heal. And it's really, really interesting stuff. So
your relationship to the event.
Your relationship to the event, because you can totally disassociate from the event. And let's just say that time when the dog bit you, you can replace that event as well, because you're the master of your timeline, no one else. And you can just create a timeline where you were, running through a field of flowers, being looked by puppies, and it was great.